Well, hello there, everybody, and welcome to the podcast, episode 16. I am DRF, joined by Kyon today. I guess we'll go do our quick introductions per usual. So, hi, I'm DRF. I support LA sports teams that make me big sad.
And I'm Kyon. I support Minnesota sports team that makes me question why I still root for them.
This may be our year, Kyon. This may be one of our years.
It's the same. Look, I've been waiting for this for a long time. My basketball team made it. Their seed 3 were matched terribly with the number 16, the Phoenix Suns. I'm still riding the train until it fails.
Hey, and I got to get to watch my team play Nito's team, so Nito and I will be going back and forth with it. If I have to hear about Kyrie and Luka Doncic all series long, so. But hopefully one of us can celebrate a team for once. So
look, we're all rooting for that. But yeah, look, while DRF and I are probably still hoping that our sports teams can make it far, but we got ourselves the overview for this episode. We got CCA announcements. We'll be covering week 5. We got an interview with the Titans of Alterna Orange, specifically our CSU Fullerton, and a preview for our reschedule week. Well, let's go and kind of get started. DRF, we got the CCA announcements.
Yes, we do. So, fantasy updates. Well, before we dive into fantasy, Kyon, how did your March Madness bracket fare this year?
No, so it was already busted the minute game 1 ended because I got the wrong MSU team. I thought I picked Michigan State, and then I looked back and it was like, all right.
You did write MSU, so you get the guaranteed win?
That is true. I get the guaranteed win by getting 3 letters correct. But that's really it, DRF. It was busted right from the get-go, but at least I got the champion right.
You know what? That's totally fair. I think I lasted 3 games before my champion got knocked out. So it was like a great high initially, like this is the year, guys. And then Auburn decides to lose in thrilling fashion. But hey, you know what? That's what happens. That's the March Madness view. But you know what? Our March Madness brackets may be busted, but the CCA fantasy is all that actually matters in regards to collegiate sports. So we have a number of highlights from this week. So here are some of the best of the best from fantasy. Spruce Fox picked all 6 winners correctly this week, earning a clean 49 points, bringing them up to 2nd place, only 7 points behind our current leader. But notably here, actually, Spruce Fox had started week 1 in 39th place and has now climbed up 37 spots up to 2nd place this week. That's a nice comeback there if I've ever seen one.
That's actually kind of impressive. It was like, you were thinking, all right, well, for my fantasy picks, we're not faring too well, and then you just nailed everything. That's awesome. Actually, just being able to go up 37, just being able to jump 37 spots.
Absolutely. And then Mario Runner was the highest climber this week in particular. After being in 22nd for 3 weeks straight, Mario Runner earned 40 points and has shot up 12 places, breaking into the top 10. So it's going to be exciting to see how both of these players and everybody else continues to navigate fantasy. We will have some more updates about fantasy coming soon, actually. Well, you know what? Sorry, my next bullet point here does actually cover some of that. So, did your picks not fare so well and might not make the playoffs? Well, get ready, because as soon as playoff brackets are finalized, we are releasing a special fantasy playoff bracket. That is right. Go ahead and throw out those March Madness brackets, throw out those CCA fantasy picks. We have another opportunity for you all to place your imaginary points on teams here in the CCA. So submissions will open on Monday of playoffs, and they will close as soon as the first playoff match is played. So stay tuned for the official launch of that. It should be a lot of fun. Like I said, who needed March Madness in the first place?
Look, it's March Madness, just a thing of the past. We got to look to now. CCA's fantasy is where it's at. But more importantly, the production staff, everybody out there, is looking to collect teams and player clips and highlights from Season 5. Please go ahead and help us out by finding them and sharing them by this one, which should have been posted already. So just help us out of your bit.
Yeah, no, that's something that we're definitely looking for. So, and something we've been wanting to do for some time. So please, if you have awesome clips or highlights that you've grabbed from streams, send them to us. So that way we can use them for any sort of future reels and stuff like that. So we definitely need some for Season 5. So the last thing that is on our announcements for today is... for everyone that is kind of waiting to see if they have confirmed playoff spots or not, we are doing our best to confirm those as we see them, but just please stay tuned until Monday when we have the official announcement out. We promise that we are constantly working to see all the different playoff scenarios. I know there was, spreadsheets floated around last season, so I can't say for sure whether that will happen this season or not, but the best way to find out is to just wait until Monday. So we are excited, as you all are, to see who's made the playoffs and what those brackets will look like.
While we're getting that all settled, we gotta recap ourselves week 5 here, DRF, and basically it seeds 1v2, 3v4, and 5v6. But the most impressive stat when that we're loading up here for this episode here, 28.9% of the matches played in week 5 all ended in game 7s, which to me is kind of mind-blowing to say the least here, DRF, because it's so fun to see a lot of the sets obviously go back and forth and go the entire distance. I'm sure a lot of us watching it will love to appreciate that. But more importantly, DRF, I'm going to start with you. What is your favorite match that you've watched or even commentated so far this season?
Oh man, yeah, especially as we are reaching the end of the regular season here, I do think it's a great time to reflect on some of the most hyped matches. So of course, you and I can only watch and see so many of these matches that happen every single week. They're at this point, God, if I could do the quick maths on that, it's something ridiculous, like 300 matches have been played up to this point. So yeah, it's kind of hard to watch them all. But anyways, I will say, for me, honestly, Walk versus UCF Aeronautics has been my match that I've replayed in my head this season, mainly because of that Rainmaker game 6 on Museum d'Alfonsino. Walk decides to push all their chips in on the final push and nearly pulls it off. So that's one that I would just continue to relive right now. And I know reschedule week with a number of playoff spots on the line, I am fully anticipating that to be topped this week.
I'm sure reschedule week is gonna have a lot of exciting moments there. And for my matchup that I've watched or even commentated so far, I'm gonna actually go to one that I've actually commentated earlier in the season. Week 4 was a Division 4 matchup between Farmingdale Esports and UGA Red. I had the pleasure to commentate that game. To see this go not just all the way to Game 7, but Game 7 being on, I believe this is the set that went to Barnacle and Dime Clan Blitz. Go 6 minutes and I believe exactly 6 minutes and 8 seconds overtime in Barnacle and Dime Clan Blitz. And we were waiting for the longest time. By the way, nobody even scored on that one either until that Power Clan came in. That is how close, intense that entire set was. And it was almost a microcosm of how the entire set go. It is still forever the set that, as you mentioned, with that Game 6 living rent free in my head, that entire set alone, I could just rewatch all the time. So that's my favorite match that I've commentated and watched by proxy so far this season, DRF. And
Kyon, I'll also go back to mine real quick. Are you at all surprised that my pick is defined by a Rainmaker game?
No, not at all. You and I have had our fair share of shenaniganery, let's put it that way, of Rainmaker matches of all time. I think even we had one in CCA way back when, and even other tournaments outside of this. I feel like it was destined to be fate at this point, DRF, that you're just meant to have a Rainmaker match that is just full of wild.
It is. And that game in particular still lives rent-free in my head. I believe that was Div 5 or Div 6 semifinals from Season 3, I believe. So phenomenal matchup there. But hey, Well, with that said, we're going to go ahead and kick things off with our division breakdown here. So let's go ahead and get the division blitz started. We're going to go ahead and rally through each of the divisions, highlighting the key matches that were played this week and picking our key match of the week to discuss a little bit further. So we're going to dive on into Division 6 first. So some notable scores here. We had DPU Anarcho-Ciliism gained a 4-0 win over Ferris State Splatoon. Washington State's Gluga Guga 4-0 over Long Beach Blue. This result keeps the NCCS Llamas alive in their group as they chase CSULB Blue now, who has a narrow lead for second place in that group. And of course, the Coastal Booyah Basins with a 4-2 win over DPU's Hook, Line, and Anchor. So that's going to be a nice win there for Coastal Booyah Basins. But Kyon, what was our Div 6 match of the week?
Yeah, Div 6 match of the week actually is Sun God Squad from UCSD getting the 4-0 sweep over Spoon. And this is where Sun God Squad, they advanced to a 3-0 start for their season. Their upcoming rescheduled game against Buccaneers of the Caribbean has some major playoff implications now, as only one of these two teams will actually make the playoffs. So this has a ton of importance coming up for Sun God Squad. So something for them to keep an eye on. For Spoon, they take their first loss of the season. They have but they did clinch a playoff spot. Whether they hang on to the number one seed in the group or not, ultimately just depends on the aforementioned match result. They'll have to play basically spectator at that point to see how that match plays out. So a lot on, but so for Sun God Squad and for Spoon, a lot of things to keep an eye on for reschedule week.
Absolutely, and again, we do say that these teams have clinched, and that's just from our mathematical analysis. So again, wait until Monday to confirm everything. But those are just, we can't find scenarios that, you know, allow a team into the playoffs or a team to get out of the playoffs. So when we say clinch, definitely put a small asterisk there until we have things fully finalized.
For sure. And that wraps up Division 6. We got to move on to Division 5. We got our Division Blitz here. Some notable matchups there. A-State Black with the 4-0 sweep over Chaotic. Most importantly with this result, excuse me, that's going to be a mouthful for me. A-State Black keeps themselves alive in the playoff race with that big win. Tiger Trouts gets the 4-3 over Sporty Bobblehat Gang, and then of course Anarchy Rainbow 4-3 over Stevens Octocutioners. DRF, what's our key match for? What was our key match for Division 5?
Yeah, our key match of the week in Div 5 was CSUDH Ivory getting the 4-2 win over SplatScad Yellow. So Ivory now becomes one of 3 teams so far to clinch a playoff spot in Division 5 as they reach a 4-1 record. So, this being the final game of the season for SplatScad Yellow, though, they are unfortunately eliminated from playoff contention, though, but finished with a very respectable 3-2 record on the season for their first go at the CCA League. So, just want to give SplatScad Yellow their flowers here because their season may be over, but I think this is a very promising start for SCAD as a whole. I mean, they still have 2 other teams that are in the mix in other divisions, so they've definitely come in hot this season, that's for sure. But anyways, so both teams were 3-1 heading into this pivotal match, so this really had major implications on the playoff picture, as you could tell here, with CSUDH Ivory now solidifying their spot in the playoffs and knocking SplatScad Yellow out. All right, that covers that for Division 5 there. DRF also, I'll cover Division 4 for you because for Division 4 on their Division Blitz, GMU Academy gets the 4-0 sweep over Nautical. And then we got RIT Tiger. Going back to the previous one, getting ahead of myself there. DRF, GMU with the crucial win against Nautical keeps their playoff chances alive. That's the important thing there. For RIT, Tiger Prom 4-1 over SplatScad, the orange team. Tiger Prom continues to show dominance and getting closer to a playoff spot. And UGA Red, I mentioned them before.
almost seems paid for them. This time getting the 4-3 victory. They get their Game 7 victory. They're over the Moravian Cyber Squids. That Game 7 win, UGA Red was able to pull through and secure the last playoff spot in Group 4. DRF, we got a fun little Division 4 key match. What is that particular key match?
Oh, this week it was the High Rollers in a Game 7 victory over Champlain Seafoam. So the High Rollers take the clutch Game 7 win to end the regular season. So now the High Rollers bouncing back after having to forfeit, unfortunately, against WPI in the previous week. So now the High Rollers' next matchup against Kansas State's C Sharp Major is going to be super crucial, as both of these teams are looking to secure that final playoff spot in their group. So this definitely had some big effects here, because High Rollers, it was unfortunate for their circumstance that they just couldn't give WPI, the shot that they wanted to take. But hey, you know what? Now you got to move on and continue to fight for that last playoff spot, and both these teams want it. So.
And I can imagine for High Rollers just for them a lot to really just look out for, because if you're in that playoff spot, then you got to give your all, and that is such an important matchup coming up to reschedule week here, DRF.
Oh, absolutely. But hey, let's go ahead and keep this blitz going though. Division 3, our key scores for this week. UC Berkeley's Egg Spaghetti with the 4-2 win over EAUCD Splatoon White. This allows Egg Spaghetti to secure their playoff spot within Division 3. But hey, Splatoon White is not out of it yet. They are in a great position to get that second playoff spot, but have a key matchup coming up during reschedule week to try to secure that. Additionally, we do have the Cal Poly Pomona Wave Riders with a 4-3 victory over Crimson Inc. So the Wave Riders were able to get their first victory of the season. So shout out to them for ending, or at least having the end of the season, with a strong showing. A Game 7 victory definitely always gets you pretty pumped. And then lastly, UGA Blacks 4-2 victory over the University of Southern Florida's Bull Shark Black Tips is going to round out our notable scores this week. But Kyon, what was our key matchup for Div 3?
Key matchup for Div 3, we mentioned earlier, 28.9% of our Week 5 matchups went to Game 7. This happened to be the other one. Tax Collectors get their 4-3 over Life Could Bradley Dream. Tax Collectors, of course, not only with the crucial win over Life Could Bradley Dream there, but for Life Could Bradley Dream, their fate going into the playoffs kind of just depends on whether UNM Esports plays out against High Riders. That matchup pretty much important for them. If UNM Esports wins their match, they basically take the playoff spot that Life Could Bradley Dream has at this time. Tax Collectors having one more match against High Riders. Hopefully they can end their season off with victory. But can they? That's the ultimate question here, DRF.
Yeah, that is a big question indeed. Tax Collectors has kind of just been playing the middle ground for now. So they're in striking position, but it's going to be tough. So it's been a while since we've seen a Tax Collectors team that has put together a strong playoff push. So I'm excited to see how this one ends. Well, let's keep this going though. Division 2 blitz here. So the scores of the week, we first have Purdue's We Aquatic Little Creatures with the 4-1 victory over the RIT Tiger Sharks. Walk keeps their playoff hopes alive with this victory. And honestly, Div 2 is a mess. It's a mess. So we'll touch more on that in just a little bit, but there are, I believe, 4 playoff spots that have already secured, but the last 4 playoff spots, buckle up, it's going to be a wild ride. And adding to that chaos was UCSD Esports Navy with a 4-3 victory over ONSU Scarlet. Navy does not drop the Game 7 this week after losing to a Game 7 to Creamed Corn a couple weeks ago. So they said, hey, we lost it once. We don't like that feeling. We're not going to let it happen again. And both teams are still in the mix, though, for that playoff spot, because that group is completely undecided. Continuing on though, UT Austin's Daybreak with a 4-3 victory over UC Riverside's HLG Clearly, and Florida State's Seminole Cephalopods Garnet get the 4-3 victory over the Towson Tigerfish. So, man, the crazy part about this though is that every match within Group 4 went to a Game 7 this week. Every single one. And that is wild. And I mean, those were two that I just mentioned, Kyon. But our key match of the week is that third Game 7. So tell us a little bit about that.
You bet. And yeah, as you mentioned before, this was the other Group 4 matchup that went 4-3. This one being Titans of Alterna Orange of CSU Fullerton gained the 4-3 victory over WI Grisco Workers Union. The match that has been 2 seasons in the making. Titans of Alterna took on Grisco Workers Union in a do-or-die match for both teams' playoff chances. A lot of history with the scenes going back to season 2. We'll cover that later on in the show as well. WPI down 0-3, mounted an impressive comeback and pushed the match to a Game 7, and then kicking it into gear now. Titans of Alterna then capped the Rainmaker on Humpback in 50 seconds and taking that match home. That amazing match for both teams. That was basically an amazing match for both teams, rather. DRF. We'll get to the details later with an interview with the Titans of Alterna. Again, more on that show coming up. But DRF, real quickly, yeah, that Group 4 going all 7 is still crazy to me. I'm still even trying to process that.
I don't know if that's actually ever happened in the history of the CCA League, and I'll have to consult Krona on that because the two of us are more or less the CCA historians, and I don't know if there's ever an instance that either of us are familiar with. None that come to the top of my head. But that's going to be an interesting research mini project to do there, but this might actually be a first.
I mean, that's still crazy to me though, too. But as you mentioned before, Division 2 being a mess, of course, one group would have to go all 7 somewhere along the way. That covers up Division 2. I'll cover Division 1 ahead. Continuing on the Division Blitz here, Reef Runner with the 4-2 victory over Skyfall. Reef Runners getting their first set win of the season. So again, just like one teams remember earlier in this show, they gained their first win of the season. Always a good thing. Skyfall is actually eliminated from the wild card, but they can still clinch second in the group with an improbable series of events. What are those events? There, Skyfall beats Night Sharks by at least 2 games. Reef Runners, let's put it this way, they had to beat Night Sharks by. I wish I'm reading this right, by the way. Just putting that out there for you, DRF. 2 to the 4 minus X power of games. Now, I'm gonna have to. I'll yell at this at my stats people for that one, but I can only. But again, there's a reason for that because of how crazy it is. Comet Blasters beating CSULB Gold by at least 2 games. Pending the results above, basically that entire group is. There are so much match dependency you gotta iron out here. It almost feels like no team controls their own destiny in that regard. GMU Patriots by the 4-3 over the H-Town Rebels. GMU putting themselves in prime position for a wildcard spot after winning their third Game 7 of the season. I'll cover one of the 2 key matches for Division 1 here. We got OU Academy A. This is our game the 4-2 over Drexel Dragons Platoon in one of the Division 1 key matchups here. Being that OU Academy A eliminated Drexel in a win or go home set. Yes, OU clinches a playoff spot with a 4-1 record. Not guaranteed top 2 yet, but worst case, finishes as a wild card, pending literally the circle of suck with Banana Split and UCSD there. So that's one of our key matches there. DRF, before I go over to you, I remember historically in the CCA we've had a big run on the main CCA Splatoon, which I'm sure you remember it as well. Tell us more about our second big run so far historically in the CCA.
Yeah, so our second key match of the week is more of a series of matches. I mean, you have to expect it. It's the Red Embers big run. Red Embers revived the fabled FGCU big run in their own way on Sunday by finishing 3-0 in their sets, just like Florida Gulf Coast. But they also went 12-1 in individual games, did a play all 7 for all 3 sets because, I don't know, they're crazy. And then the last set, I believe, started at midnight, their local time. So it was I don't know. It definitely was one for the ages, that's for sure. But the fact that they managed to play at that high of a level, that late, and for that long is quite impressive. So Red Embers just brings out the ghost of Florida Gulf Coast here. And many of those games too were incredibly close. Like there was a few that they had to fight out big deficits, come back in overtime. So it wasn't easy for them either. It was just amazing to watch. And we had to go to Corona Beer, who was on the podcast a couple of weeks ago, and get a match comment from them. So we'll go ahead and share that with you all now.
Hello everybody, Corona Beer with Red Embers here, back at it again with episode 16. I was here on episode 14 talking about our reschedule process, and I want to go through it a little bit here today for you guys. So jokingly I said that we were going to do a gauntlet style. That was a joke, but that was until Zolo basically said, I had the Millie Rock, as I like to call it, military service coming up this weekend, this current weekend that you're watching, and we couldn't do it this Saturday or Sunday. So we had to turn back and kind of look at our options. Night Sharks, we did it this Sunday. We scheduled that first, done. Long Beach Goal, it was a little bit more of a process. It was hard. We almost had to do it after we scheduled. We can ask staff. But we got that done, and we're like, doubleheader? Sure. Then Reef Air comes around, and it's Friday or Sunday. And honestly, I asked, I'm down if we do all three. I think that'd be pretty funny. So we did all three there, and that's how it came to be. It's very hard on the mental, so I would not recommend it to almost any other team unless you're like UCSD Gold, because you're the GOATs. But besides that, it's really tiring, really hard on the mental, and really, if we went and lost a set, I think we would have been screwed. So, do not recommend, but in our case, it probably was, in our opinion, the best way possible. And we get our reschedule week free, so that also helps.
Wow. Thank you so much, Corona Beer, for the insight into your matches there. And thank you for willingly putting your team through the gauntlet. It was honestly just so much fun to be a part of that. I mean, Kyon, you got to commentate, I believe, the first set of the night there against the Night Sharks, and I got to bring us home on that last one against Reef Runners.
Yeah, that. I mean, you had to start off that one mentally ready to go, and as you mentioned before, Red Embers just they kind of just ran through the table, only dropping that one. That's awesome, especially with having to play Splatoon for that many hours. So, hey, kudos to them.
Absolutely. Well, let's go ahead and quickly get through our power rankings for this week. So let's bring it on up here. The power rankings for Division 1. Our latest updates, Red Embers jumps up to first place this week with their big run. I mean, there's no way around this. Red Embers is certainly the number one team in the league right now. Yes, UCSD and VCU are still running perfect seasons, but we haven't had a chance to see them compete in the past couple of weeks. So we are desperate to see some UCSD and VCU gameplay and see if either one of them can finish with that fabled perfect season. So time will tell on that. But for now, Red Embers takes the number one spot. UCSD, PSU each shift down a spot, and VCU will hold tight at number 4. But OU Academy A jumps up to number 5 as they get the clutch victory over Drexel and secure themselves into Division 1 playoffs. So Banana Split, GMU, Patriots, and CSU LB Gold all sitting just outside the top 5 and could try to sneak their way in here depending on what happens at the end of the season. All right, well, with the power rankings out of the way though, let's quickly talk about the wild card race. So, given that a lot of these groups are starting to settle down, we can start to speculate a little more about who's going to be in the top 2, who's going to be wild card. So as of right now, Red Embers, PSU Blue, UCSD Esports Gold, and OU Academy A have locked in the first 4 out of 8 playoff spots for Division 1. And for those wild card spots, we have, I should say remaining playoff spots first. We have the Night Sharks, Long Beach Gold, Skyfall, VCU, GMU, and banana split. 6 teams fighting for those last playoff spots. Skyfall, as we had mentioned before, they can't win wildcard, but they do have a very specific scenario that can put them in the and GMU tail behind, but VCU versus GMU and VCU versus Penn State still need to be played. So notably, VCU versus GMU though is a rematch from the UNCG LAN Grand Finals that took place a couple weeks ago, in which VCU won 3-2. So this is going to be a highly anticipated rematch. So I know that the folks at home can't see our notes here, Kyon, but I wrote this as a code if then set. So let me break it down for you all. So if VCU wins, if VCU wins against GMU, then wildcard is in danger for GMU. They're going to be in a disadvantageous position, having a negative win differential, and they'll need some help from some other teams to get into the wildcard. But if we continue further, if VCU beats Penn State, VCU is the number 1 seed, Penn State's the number 2 seed, and if Penn State beats VCU, Penn State will be the number 1 seed and VCU is the number 2 seed. So that's what to expect in a VCU victory here in that GMU matchup. Then on the flip side, if GMU Patriots were to win, then we could talk about what happens there with the PCU-VCU match. So if GMU wins and PSU wins, then GMU will earn the number 2 seed and VCU will be in wildcard position, but a strong wildcard nonetheless, given the perfect season they've started with. On the flip side, a GMU win and a VCU win versus Penn State means that the top 2 seeds are going to be dependent on scores, but GMU would guarantee themselves at least a wild card. So a lot at stake here, a lot of different movement that could still happen within those top 3 teams. So it should be really exciting.
Yeah, I'm actually going to be curious to see how all that movement shapes up, because that group 2, well, even if this is understandable, there's a lot of scenarios that has to play out. So I'm going to be excited for how that plays out here. But DRF, I get to cover group 3 for this one. So everything basically hinges on one matchup for how group 3 is going to look. It's Banana Split versus UCSD being the only match that remains and shapes the entire playoff picture. Banana Split can guarantee a playoff spot with a win, can either get the number 2 seed or the wild card. If they lose, basically they're at the mercy of what playoff deity, what wild card god there is for them, because every game literally matters for them. UCSD, of course, they just want to establish the strongest playoff position with the sweep, and DRF, I gotta reiterate, it feels like a tale as old as time with Banana Split versus UCSD for sure. But aside from that, who do you think will be our wildcard teams coming into Division 1?
Oh, that's going to be tough because, like we said, there's like 6 teams that are in the, I guess 7 teams that are in the wild card picture, including OU Academy A. But for me, as I look at it, I feel like OU Academy A will end up in those top 2. I feel like the Night Sharks will end up in top 2. So I'm kind of keeping those 2 out. The VCU GMU thing is a big mess. But I give the slight edge right now to VCU. So as a result, I'm gonna say our wildcard teams will end up being Banana Split and Long Beach Gold. That's just what the vibes are right now. I think that it might be the safe answer here, in all honesty, as they are in the 2 teams that are probably in the best position to claim wildcard at this time. Pending things kind of just going as I think most expect. So that's what I'm anticipating happening. What about you, Kyon? What are the teams that are going to get wildcard for you?
To me, it kind of just boils down to kind of like the standings, trying to get a good feel for kind of, you mentioned before with the vibes from earlier, kind of just boil down to which teams are kind of are in a better shape on paper to lead me into this one. I have Banana Split as one, and it was literally just a toss up between CSU, Long Beach, and honestly, of all teams, GMU Patriots, but only because I think for that group, VCU might actually be able to get one of the top 2 slots, and they're in firm position. So I'll say, at least from my perspective, it could be Banana Split versus GMU and GMU correction. But I feel like this is gonna be a whole time will tell. Reschedule week will matter a lot in the grand scheme of things.
Absolutely. Well, that's gonna do it for our week 5 recap here. So let's go ahead and move on to our next segment, which is going to be an interview with the Titans of Alterna Orange team. So let's go ahead and get a bit of an introduction here for them. The Titans of Alterna are in their 3rd CCA League season, started off in Season 2 as the 4th place team in Division 3, losing to the likes of WPI and Daybreak. They took Season 3 off, returned in Season 4 to finish 4th again in Division 3, facing some, getting wins off of some notable teams like Creamed Corn and Griff Inc. But now, in Season 5, they maintained their perfect playoff streak for every season that they have played in, and in fact have now gone and beat those exact teams that they have lost to back in Season 2. And they're one of many Southern California teams that turn up to SoCali from time to time. Please welcome the Titans of Alterna Orange team. Welcome. Let me see if I can get your camera feedback up, Lagoon.
Sorry about all that.
No worries, but thank you guys so much for joining us as we get your camera fixed. Of course, there's things that maybe we've missed here, but go ahead and introduce yourselves individually. Tell us what we forgot there in that introduction.
Hello, I'm Lagoon. You can't see me yet, but I'm the captain for Titans of Alterna Orange.
There you are.
There we go. Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. We've gotten 4th place twice in the same div, and the winner of Div 3 was the same each time, which is a weird coincidence that me and Krona mentioned. But we're going strong right now, and yeah, I'll let Pinecone introduce himself.
Oh, okay. I'm Pinecone. I joined the team, the CSUF team, last year for the 4th season, I believe. That was my first time playing Splatoon competitively, and yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for those introductions. So let's just dive right on into it, talking about the Cal State Fullerton Splatoon program and some of your previous seasons. So Lagoon, you've been here since the beginning of Cal State Fullerton's tenure here in the CCA. So can you share with us a little bit about how the Fullerton Splatoon club and team came to be?
Yeah, so I had joined the gaming club in, I believe, fall 2022, somewhere around there. And that was the time that Splatoon 3 came out. And, there was a meeting where, like, a bunch of us were playing in the Shoal, the local multiplayer, and we were all on, like, one table. And then me and one of the other club members, I believe it's Cherry M's, we were like, why don't we just, like, try this? Because it's a new game. There's going to be a lot of hype over it. It's very popular for Nintendo shooter. And then we're like, yeah. So we got a couple of the team members. I think at the time it was Sweet Soul and forgot who the others were, and I feel really bad. But yeah, they were the ones that really helped us. Really helped us get into this. And like, yeah, since then, Cherry M's has been like the esports like person who's like relaying information to them. And I'm just here, going along with it, trying to lead as best as I can.
Gotcha. So if I understand it correctly, so you all are, I guess, a team or a branch underneath the greater CSUF esports program.
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay. Awesome.
All right, so here's an interesting question for you. So because we mentioned earlier here is that you guys finished 4th place in Division 3 for both the seasons you guys have played in the league so far, which is impressive. But I'm sure little room for disappointment. Just trying to make sure you can catch up to your own expectations. How do you guys all feel about just all the 4th place finishes you guys had so far historically?
Well, for season 2, I'll let Pinecone share his for season 4 in a second. But for season 2, I think that was the first time any of us on the team had gone into Comp Splatoon. So it was, again, very surprising to like make the playoffs and get, even get 4th place, which is really cool. Season 3, yeah, we took the break off. It was more so just like schedules got like really hectic, and spring semester is usually a lot more hectic for students here. And then season 4, the same thing. Like, I was going into it as like, oh, we're just gonna go, we're gonna have fun with it. And then when we got to playoffs, I'm like, wait a minute, we have a real shot at this. And then the 4th place, like looking back on it, is a little disappointing, but like still, it was like we went undefeated in groups, and we lost to a team that got second and is Div 1 CCA right now. So it's unfortunate looking back on it, but I look back on it. How about you, Pinecone?
I was gonna say the same thing without it was my first time playing competitive Splatoon, and
Awesome.
even getting to playoffs. Well, first of all, we were undefeated in groups. I don't mean to brag, but that felt really good. And then when we got to the playoffs, I was like, wow, this is it. Yeah, we did get 4th, unfortunately, but I still had a lot of fun, and I guess I was proud of myself, for making it to playoffs.
For
I
sure.
remember specifically. Sorry, real quick. I remember specifically in our quarterfinal game against Griffin, when we won Game 4, Pinecone went, well, I was gonna say the good news is if we lost, it's a best of 9, but now the bad news is it's a best of 9, and we have to win another Griffin. So
That's a good way to do it.
It was like, oh.
Gotta love the format change from the regular season to the playoffs. But no, you guys should feel proud of yourselves, because getting to 4th place, it does take a lot of work. It's just unfortunate that 4th place means that you lost your last 2 sets, so it just feels like a little like downhill at the very end. But like getting there is still a huge accomplishment, especially in back-to-back seasons in which you've played. And Lagoon, I think you touched on it there just a little bit, but So just curious, we missed you guys in season 3. So, what happened there? Why weren't you guys able to participate? And I mean, how do you guys think you would have fared if you did compete?
What was going on during that time? I think it was just like it was really hectic. We were just everyone had really busy schedules, and like I think we may have like just missed the deadline, or it's like it's way too much to like get back into it. So we just did we did other things during the time. We did I think a low ink or two during that time. We've obviously started doing SoCali like every time it comes up most of the time. So even during that time we were still like busy doing stuff, but like even now it's like looking back on it, I think I'm the only member of the original Titans team that's still here. So it's also
Wow.
like a lot of people have come in and out. Uh last fall we got like the big influx of people were like Pinecone, Mocha, and then for the blue team like PJ, Poro, those people came from that have been doing really well. So yeah, spring is always a harder time because there's less people, there's less college kids coming in. But now we have a really good force behind us, and I think we're gonna try and keep going and make every CCA that we can now from here on forth.
Awesome. Well, let's go ahead and dive on into a bit of season 5 then. So you guys started out the season with a strong entrance exam 3 performance, getting some close matches against some notable teams here, like GMU. I think you guys lost 1-2. The Coastal Carolina team, you guys actually beat 2-1, and then had a 1-2 loss to WPI. So, some really strong teams there that are like right around you all. So as we kind of got into the season, though, it was revealed that you were one of the top group seeds in Division 2. Is that where you all were expecting to start the season?
Based off our entrance exams, I was expecting, Div 2. I I I was in a watch party event, and I was a little worried of because we didn't get revealed to a group 4, and I'm like, and I heard that you guys expanded Div 1. I'm like, they wouldn't do that, right? They wouldn't throw us to the sharks like that, right? I don't think we're ready for that. But I think we've been doing really well, and it definitely has been harder, Div 2, which is good. But yeah, I feel like some of the I'm not to discredit any of the Div 3 teams we played against, but like Div 2, it's just like, oh my gosh, it's just so
A
much
number of
harder.
them came up with you guys too.
Mhm.
So, what about you, Pinecone? I mean, given that you've only been here for a short period of time, so what does that growth arc look like for you?
Yeah, I was expecting Division 2 as well, because I know that we did really well in the entrance exam, but yeah, I was also watching the stream for the placements, and then I was like, okay, we're not in Div 3, that's good. And then it was like a while until we showed up in Div 2, and I was getting kind of worried that we would be in Div 1, so like there's some cracked people in there. I don't know if I'm ready for Div 1 yet, and yeah. So I kind of expected Div 2, I guess.
That's awesome. Now what do you guys think about your group as a whole? Like, what opponents like were you mainly drawn to when those groups got revealed?
WPI Grisco's Workers Union. I saw that, immediately DM'd Corona, and I'm like, there's no way. And then I looked a little deeper, and I saw we were the week 5 match, and I was like, oh, this script couldn't have been written any more perfect.
It
Because
was fate.
yeah, it was. I was so disappointed at the end of last season that we couldn't go on to fight them in grand finals. But here, I was like, now is our chance for revenge a year and a half later. But
Uh,
yeah,
Go ahead, sir.
sorry, real quick. HLG, clearly, I remember I had fought against them on a different team during FTAU, so I was really excited to see them again. I'd heard, and I know Garnet was a really popular team going into it, so that was also really cool to see. But yeah, those were like the main like teams I saw as like once group got revealed.
Yeah, yeah, and going back to WPI, like, what can you guys say about your rivalry between, Titans of Alterna and the Grisco worker gene, especially WPI, that going all the way back to season 2?
Yeah, so season 2, I don't remember the exact score. I think it was either 1-4 or 0-4 to them. So, it was a little, and then entrance exam 2 before fall 2023 ran into them in that, and think it was 2021, and we were like, cool. And then entrance exam 3 we ran into them again, and we were like, oh my goodness. And then throughout other means, like out of the CCA, I had played with Krona a lot more in a team called Caution with other CCA members, and it was like, once I saw the groups, I was like, this is the time for full redemption in a way. I know that like Pinecone, Ampri, and like Mocha don't probably didn't get the full story of it, because like, yeah, we'd played with them and scrimmed with them a couple times, but like for me, I was like, it's finally time.
Oh, that's great. Pico, I'll actually toss the previous question back over to you as well. Was because Lagoon definitely has that personal connection with WPI. But what about yourself? Like, what was your image going into the group? What teams did you have circled on your schedule?
Definitely WPI as well, because I heard the horror stories from Lagoon personally. You told me all about their team and how strong they are and how scary it will be, and that how we have to win this. We have to win this for the rivalry. I mean, they're a great team. They're just a really strong team, and it was very nerve-wracking going in.
For sure, and we'll touch on that WPI set in a moment here. But I think one thing I also do want to touch on here a little bit is the compositions you all run, because you guys have some very untraditional compositions that would make TZS proud. So let's talk about that just a bit, because like, how do you all navigate running the compositions where it's like, Lagoon, you have your brush, Pinecone, I've seen you on Dreadringer, I think you brought out Paintbrush. You bring out, between the two of you alone, you bring out a number of different weapons that most people won't even dare to run.
See it. So how I have captain team is like, play play what you want to play. We'll figure out the rest later. Like season 3, our main comp was a dynamo roller, a flinger roller, an ink brush, and a blaster. And people would look at that and go, why are you doing this? But like, it worked for us. Like, and like, I'm the person, like, I don't want to put you on a weapon just to like, because we need a Tacticooler or we need a Trizuka. I'd rather us like work with the weapons we know how to play more and then go from there. And like this season, we've run Big Swig, Dreadringer, Inkbrush, and T-Tech. And then we're like, okay, now so how does this work? And then we're like, oh, we just throw paint everywhere, and then because we have the Dread, the Big Swig, and the T-Tech all able to provide really good paint, and then it gives me as an Inkbrush a lot of room to move around in and Shark and whatnot. And then we have a lot of bombs, which is really nice. Sometimes you're unlucky with that with the weapons you play. We have specials with displacement with Tri-Strikes, Reach Slider, and even Ink Vac. And Ampri has made me a Vac believer, because like some of the games we would not have won if one of us wasn't Vac pushing on Clan Blitz or Rainmaker. So yeah, it's just like, yeah, I'm also on a team with our remix. We run really untraditional comps, and then here, same thing. Have fun with it. If it doesn't work, yeah, we'll tweak it a little bit. We saw that as we did with the WPI game. Bringing out Paintbrush, bringing out Dynamo, bringing out E-Leaders. Zampri is also a Charger player. But yeah, we can adapt to this situation, and if nothing else, it gives people entertaining, because it's like, oh, this is a bunch of weapons you don't see very often.
I was actually gonna make a quick note of that because I heard like weapons you just if you go outside the CCA circle, there'll be people questioning what on earth is this team cooking. That'll always be the first question. So is it just like more comfort for you guys, or is it just like just trying things out and see if it works?
It's definitely a comfort thing. Like I know, I made Inkbrush, Pinecone, brought Shredringer out in entrance exam, and this season, and he's been doing really well with it. He's gotten really good reef slider kills. Mocha has always been on T-Tech, and then Ampri, she's always is on the Dynamo, the flings those like the big rollers and the chargers. So, and I trust them with it. If they get the results, who am I to judge whether it works or not? It clearly does.
Honestly, vouch. If it gets the job done, it gets the job done. Now Pinecone, please enlighten us, because at least with the WPI matchup, the Dreadwing is what stood out to me. But what weapons are in your pockets? What can we continue to expect from you? Possibly going into the playoffs even.
See, I have been liking the Dreadringer a lot. The Flingza roller, I've kind of fallen out of love with it. I'm not gonna lie. I haven't been liking it as much usually these days. I do like the paintbrush. I like brushes. I like brushes. You may even see a bit of the regular slosher. We may see. I don't know. We may see.
Okay.
But generally, yeah, I just play weapons. I like. It's hard to play a weapon I don't know and perform well. And when I don't perform well, I feel like I'm dragging the team down. So you know what? I've just been playing stuff I like, and it is working out nicely. So I'm gonna keep doing that, and maybe one day I'll have to start learning new, more meta weapons, but that day is not today.
For sure. Well, let's go ahead and dive on into that pivotal matchup from this past week, the WPI Grizz Co-workers Union set. So let's talk about the lead up to the match. So knowing that the pressure here was that it was a win or go home situation, was that weighing on your guys' mind entering the match? What was the build up like?
For me, I knew, like, it wasn't like fully like the Monday before, it wasn't like fully like win or go home, because there were still the corner cases with Garnet. But as soon as Garnet won their match to go 4-0, I messaged Crona and we're like, well, I guess this is it. And we've been so even in the past. I was like, however this happens, I'm content with it. I didn't want to win, obviously, but yeah. But like Friday happened, I was like really excited all day to just get home and play, because it's like you want to play and have fun with it, but you also want to get it over with because you want to see what the outcome is. But yeah, I'm assuming we'll get to during the match in a second, so I won't go into that. But that's how I thought of it, at least.
Pinecone, how about yourself?
Well, I didn't actually know that this match decided playoffs or not until after. I was still nervous, but not that nervous. I was just like, this is a game. Of course, it was still still knew that it was like against WPI, but I was just expecting like a normal league match between fellow Splatoon players, not the drastic like win like needed for this match. But yeah.
It kind of actually reminds me DRF actually that there was a coach that went up to press conference and mentioned actually I didn't realize that we could be eliminated today, except obviously the other way around too. So I love that response. I love that response, Pinecone. But
oh man,
I'll hopefully you get that one. But real quickly though, because Pinecone, it's actually kind of interesting that you mentioned that you probably weren't sure about this one, because you guys were basically being up 3-0, and I want to go to you. And I want to go to you, Lagoon. Like, how confident were you guys feeling going into that game 4, and how did that evolve once Grizz Co-workers Union started taking game after game, then forcing the game 7 afterwards?
Robo Ramen and Clam Blitz, I knew we were going to struggle on because Trizuka. And I knew they were going to have at least one, maybe two. And I don't remember. I think we brought out Custom Leader because Crack and Cheese, which RIP Crack and Cheese, thank the Splatoon Lords. But I watched the stream back and I heard one of the commentators chime like, this team has been known to be a good Clan Blitz team. And then I go on to Hakan's website and I'm like, we lose most of our Clan Blitz games. But like the Clan Blitz game was the one I was most concerned about. And then like game 5, Splat Zones, Barnacle, I was confident on. And then we lost. I was like, I'm getting flashbacks of last season against GMU Patriots. But yeah, that's how going into game 4. Before like all that happened. I guess I was personally on a high. I'm like, there's no way this is gonna be a 4-0, but it'd be so amazing if it was, and it led to so much more anxiety than I thought was gonna happen.
I can imagine like all that lead up to the game. So I was like, I don't think we saw 3-3 in our future in that regard. Pinecone, kind of the same question to you. Like, how are you feeling with you guys being up 3-0, and then of course how the set played out leading up to the games until game 7?
Well, like on game 4 before it started, right? The games before that, all the way up to game 3, they weren't like full stomps or anything. They were still really close, even though we won all those 3 games. So in the back of my mind, I was still thinking we may still get reverse swept. And then every single game after that, I was like, we may be getting reverse swept. So I was getting really nervous about what was going on, but I still held hope. I still held hope, that we wouldn't get reverse swept.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
think the games before that where game 1 was we won by 1 point in overtime.
Yes.
Game 2 we got a knockout on TC, and then game 3 again we won in overtime, and we were all like, oh my gosh, why?
So those 3 victories that to put you up 3-0 were already stressful enough itself. Because I was gonna bring that up as well, because it's those 3 games did come easy either. With 2 of them having to be come from behind victories. So I feel like the confidence is partially there because you're like, hey, we are coming up so clutch right now, but at the same time, dear God, my blood pressure is through the roof.
I remember game 3 specifically after, because I watched that game back. I picked up the Rainmaker with about a minute left. I did not move forward for about 40 seconds because everyone else, I think I was alive by myself for like 3 seconds, and I'm like, don't rush me. Do not rush me. Please don't rush me. Everyone came back, and as soon as Ampri got her ink back, I'm like, we have to go now.
Yeah, like you did not get any points on the board until the 54-second remaining mark. Like that, that's crazy.
I remember after the game, Pinecone again, he says like, thank you for being as cautious as you were with the Rainmaker. And I'm like, I know we needed an ink back to push in. And thank God, it's like, as soon as we got the special, I'm like, we got to go now. This is our time.
Yeah, that is absolutely wild, because especially on like Sturgeon, it's hard to get the comebacks like that. Especially not really having an opportunity to score, till really late, running down the Rainmaker timer. Because I think by the time you hit the pedestal, there was less than 10 seconds on the Rainmaker. So it just seemed like, I don't want to say a mess, but it just was such an unoptimal situation, and it felt like you had to clutch up so hard to get there.
In my mind, there was 3 places I had to shoot. I had to shoot the like place where the drop was. I had to shoot the top of the bridge because that was up at the point, and I had to shoot the like mid area because I knew they can come from there. So I was basically just going boop boop like in order, or wherever I saw someone, I just shot there because I knew that's where they would most likely come from, and it worked, I guess. But yeah, it was still very stressful the entire last minute of that game. I was just like, don't push unless you have an ink back.
Certainly. Well, hey, you got the job done there. But like we said, WPI nearly had an all-time comeback in this set. So let's touch on Game 7. So as much as Krona wants to pretend that the Game 7 on Rainmaker Humpback never happened, let's talk about it. So tied 3-3, Rainmaker Humpback started with the Titans getting a pop and pushing quickly to checkpoint. And then ultimately, I think you guys got a wipe or a near wipe or a stagger, but you KO'd the Rainmaker in probably about a minute. So what was the vibe like going into that game, and how did you all put yourself in a position to dominate in Game 7?
Before Game 7, I try as much as I can to keep everyone just like, we don't yell a lot. Like, if you listen to our comms or whatever, you notice that we don't talk not that we don't talk a lot, but we're not very loud. I try and keep everyone very calm, just like saying stuff. And then Game 7, I was just like, it's just another game, let's go for it. And then we got like I'm trying to just remember, we got like 2 picks or 3 picks or whatever. And then I was like, oh, perfect, we have a clear shot for it. And then I saw 2 on the left dropping into mid. I was like, I think this is our like chance. And then we popped the Rainmaker again. Pinecone got a reach slider, and I just picked it up and followed him all the way there. He popped it. I think he got 1 pick. He pushed someone off the ledge, and by the time I think the other 2 had killed everyone in mid, so there's only 1 person left. And I was like, okay, I think we're all good. And I slammed it, and I don't know about everyone else yelling, but I definitely did get up and yell. I was like, oh, thank everything that that's over. Some people it might have been anticlimactic. For us, we were just like, oh my gosh.
No, and that's totally fair. Because like Game 7, especially with all of the pressure and momentum that's kind of built up to that moment, from a spectator point of view, it's like, is this anticlimactic, or like, is this just the capstone that we weren't expecting? Like, there's excitement in of itself there, that with how quickly a game like that could go. So I think from a spectator POV it could be viewed either way, but I could totally see for you guys it's just like, please get us out of here. We're finally done.
I don't know. Was it the same for you, Pinecone? Because I was definitely like, oh, thank God it's over.
Yeah.
It's almost kind of like you guys are just like, oh god, we made it to Game 7. I'd imagine with you guys like mentally being up 3-0. Obviously, DRF, you kind of pointed out like the spectators, all of us were kind of hoping, please draw it out for like 5 minutes, make it overtime, all the crazy stuff. And you guys was like, please don't put us into 5 minutes. Was that like kind of their first thought? Please don't put us in overtime.
Yeah, like especially because I knew like they were gonna bring out weapons very good on Humpback. If I'm so we went as fast as we did. I feel like if we had let the game drawn out, it would have gotten like a lot worse for us really quickly, because I feel like if we allowed them to recuperate fast enough, then they were going to be able to get a lot better on us. But thankfully, we stopped it before it had a chance to start. And that's also just Humpback Rainmaker in a nutshell. It's either like 1-point victories and then you go into 5-minute games, or you end the game in under a minute.
Certainly. So I guess as we cap off the WPI match here, so for how long are you gonna hold this over Krona's head?
I can't hold it over his head that much, because he can't always bring up obviously a year and a half ago. I know that's a long time ago, but I mean, when they brought in Frosta, and immediately I was like, oh no. Like in the first 30 seconds of Sturgeon, I was like, oh, this guy's an immediate problem. And yeah, but we were able to overcome it. We actually had a fun moment like before the game started, where we brought all 8 of us together before Frosta showed up, the 8 that were originally in the games, and we just did PBs, random weapons, random stages, and that was a lot of fun. So that also helped calm nerves a little bit, and also just for fun. But I don't know. I'll probably hold it over his head until they're able to beat us next, and then I'll have to shut my mouth.
You know what? That's fair enough. Well, let's talk about what's coming up for the Titans of Alterna. So, the only match you have lost this season is to the Seminole Cephalopods Garnett team. So, how do you all reflect upon that match to build towards a playoff push? And are you hoping for a rematch?
Yes. I remember the talk before that match was I think I'd been away from the game for a couple days and I hadn't been able to play. Remember Pinecone said he hadn't played for a couple days. I don't know, but and the other two just like woke up. So we were very not in position to play a match, and we still took 2 games off them and almost were able to not reverse sweep them, but like get them into a game 7. But that didn't happen. I think we do have a shot to beat them when we're on our game, but it was very um oh, this season got a lot more stressful as soon as we lost that game. But going in the playoffs, I still think we have a decent chance of doing really well. I know there's a lot of really hard teams like Splatlanders and Scad Black especially that are already locked in, very scary. But I think we can, if we get a run back against Garnet, I think we have a decent shot to get back at them, especially because they run Respawn Punisher Octobrush, and we have to punish that.
I love that thought. And you actually touched upon what I was about to ask next, because yeah, you guys are moving into the playoff spot as the second team from Group 4, and I think you mentioned like the teams that you guys were definitely afraid of coming into playoffs. Again, with your potential opponents, like were there any teams that you guys mentioned, because you mentioned Splatlanders, Scad? Were there any teams so far that are confirmed or likely to move in? Were there any teams that you were looking at that might be threatening your playoff push at the very least here in Division 2?
In our group, I knew it was going to be Garnet and WPI, but for Division 2 in general, the only one I knew for certain was Scad Black, because I know their coach personally. I know Abby, and you know they're very very good. Like I think like we've scrimmed them with my other team, our Remix, and their charger player is such a menace. I think it's Asa. I don't remember. Someone can yell at me if I'm wrong, but
I believe
they're
you're correct.
okay, cool. It's just them specifically. It's so hard to get through, and also UCSD. It's just like I've seen their gold team. I'm assuming if their Navy teams did too, they're also a very big threat. So those are the two that I'm also like eyes wide and like hopefully we can weather the storm of round 1, because I know it's gonna be, I think it's C2 from Group 4 and then against C1 of Group 1. But yeah, we'll see what happens. Hopefully we can get 4th again, I guess. But hopefully we can improve upon that.
For sure. Pico, how about yourself on that one?
Sorry if you could hear my brother in the background. He is playing Tekken. He is running around the house right now.
All good.
But for the topic about getting the rematch against the team we lost to, honestly, if we get 4th again, I'd be okay with that. I think we played really well this season, and I'm obviously hoping for more. I'm hoping to go all the way for first, go for the gold, But you know what? We're gonna actually get. We're not gonna get 4th. We're not gonna get 4th 3 times in a row. We're gonna get 1st. This is gonna be it. This is gonna be it right now.
3rd time's the charm.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
and then we get put in Div 1 next semester, and then we're like, oh god, wait, hold on.
Oh no.
You'll be part of the next infamous Red Ember's big run.
Can I just like pay someone to not put us in the same group as Red Embers? Cool, thanks. We don't have to bribe.
Oh man. Well, for legal reasons, no, but everything has a price, right? So no, I jokes aside there. But as we kind of look towards the other groups, though, the playoff teams from Group 1 are currently undecided. Splatlanders are set to move on, but we do have Aeronautics, California Rollers, and Walk all still fighting for the final spot in the playoffs, with two pivotal matches between those three teams, Splatlanders versus California Rollers, Aeronautics versus California Rollers. So with that in mind, who do you think you are, well, I guess I should take that back because I think you technically already know who you're playing in round 1. Most likely. But given that things can still shift a little bit because Splatlanders still has to, win out. But who do you think you're going to be playing in that first round?
Splatlanders.
Splatlanders?
Yeah. I've seen their stats. I think they've only dropped 5 games, so that's gonna be fun to deal with.
Yeah, certainly. It's certainly going to be a challenge. That's for sure. And they're in the best position to get that number 1 spot, which would set up that date between you all. But hey, anything could still happen as, California Rollers and Aeronautics are trying to fight for those last spots as well. So the time will tell for certain.
I'm definitely watching the Splatlanders versus Rollers game. Need to scout. Get some info.
Well, we'll see if that ends up being on stream somewhere, because I don't think we have that, but I mean, my production team can correct me if I'm wrong there. But that's gonna end up wrapping up our interview here with you all. So thank you both for taking the time to chat with us today. Go ahead and plug yourselves though. Anything you want to plug, whether it's your socials or university related things, please have at it. Lagoon, we'll start with you.
Okay, so I believe I'm twitch.tv/lagging_lagoon. I think YouTube is the same thing. I think TikTok is the same thing. I'm on like most of the big social medias, and same for Twitter. And CSUF wise, I don't remember anything. I'm really bad at knowing what other esports things are happening. I believe they're having some Call of Duty stuff going on or some Siege stuff going on. Someone who's not me could tell you what's going on there, but go check them out. They're all very cool there. Esports has been really nice with us. Last semester they made like a nice post of us saying like, "Hey, we made it. We're going to playoffs," and hopefully they'll do the same again this season with hopefully both teams, because go Titans blue. But yeah, that's where you can find me.
Awesome. Pinecone, how about yourself?
I guess not really. I play
fine.
Splatoon. Yeah, I play Splatoon.
Pinecone, you're probably one of my favorite guests that we've had.
I appreciate you.
The dry humor is so funny.
It certainly is. Well, thank you both so much for joining us today and taking the time to chat with us. We wish you the best of luck going into the playoffs, and we'll see how far Cal State Fullerton can go.
Yeah, hopefully it's far. But thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Thank you guys. Have a good one.
You
Thanks,
too.
y'all.
See you later.
All right, and that was the Titans of Alterna from Cal State Fullerton on their pivotal Week 5 matchup and looking towards the future. Kyon, that was fantastic.
You know what that whole it really kind of just illustrates the rivalry between of course Titans of Alterna and Grisco Workers Union. And I hey, you mentioned that Lagoon may not want to hold that match towards Corona. I feel you should for probably a few more days. At least that's my personal opinion. Yeah,
at least through the season, like
that's true. Just for a few more days, you should get credit for that one.
Messing with Crota is a favorite pastime here at the CCA. So, no, we love Crota. We love the Cal State Fullerton team. It's one of the honestly most fun rivalries here in the CCA, at least in my opinion. So,
definitely.
Well, with that all said and done, we do have our last segment of the evening, which is going to be the reschedule week preview. So all of the matches that have not been played are here now. So, Kyon, why don't you take us through the start of our reschedule week preview?
Our reschedule week preview really begins with this. So first of all, DRF, new patches dropped, new change in
That's
strategy.
right.
Yeah, you gotta keep an eye out on this one. So for those who are tuning in, definitely look out for those patch notes because that might change how some of the games, especially ones that will be produced and covered here in CCA, starts to matter here. Real quickly, Wednesday morning, there are 58 matches left to be played. Division 2, most matches left with 13, and then Division 6, the least, with 6. DRF, let's just recap the Division 6, the locked-in playoff teams. What do we have in terms of the playoff picture so far?
Yes, so from our calculations so far, Spoon should be locked in Group 1, but they're still fighting for seeding. ONSU Gray, similar situation for them. Group 3, we do have the Disciples of COD and Coyotes Blue that are both secured. I believe they still have to play each other, possibly. I'll have to double check on that to fight for seeding. And then lastly, Auburn Navy secures the number 1 spot, but that number 2 is up for grabs. So quickly looking at the matches coming up, the NCCS Llamas versus ONSU Gray. The Llamas need to win to get in, while Gray is fighting for seeding. The University of Florida's Gator Eat Squid versus DPU Anarcho-Sillyism. The Gator Eat Squid squad here is looking to force a circle of suck to try and work their way into that 2nd seed. And then Gluga Guga versus the Axolotls of Athens round out our key matchups there. But Kyon, what is the upcoming match of the week here?
Match of the week for Division 6 is we've alluded to it earlier in the cast. Buccaneers of the Caribbean versus Sun God Squad of UCSD. Again, whoever wins this set's confirmed to make it to the playoffs. Buccaneers were going to be fighting uphill battle since their opponents 4-0 to Spoon last week, and the Buccaneers did lose to Spoon 0-4 in week 1. We'd be looking to see how the Buccaneers have improved since then. So that is the quick wrap there from Division 6. We're going to move right ahead to Division 5, taking a look at the teams that are locked in from playoffs. Group 1, it's Clark Coy. They got the first spot in the table. Terp Troop and CSUDH Ivory in that order for Group 2 are the ones that have been secured there. Quick little preview of which I'll cover here in just a quick moment. Just the matches you want to look out for: Money Mindset versus Chaotic, RIT Tiger Trouts, and the IVC Devil Rays. RIT, of course, need to win to get into the playoffs via record. Otherwise, they got a rocky road ahead of them. So for the Tiger Trouts, definitely take care of that assignment this week. And of course, Sporty Bobble Hat Gang versus Drexel Gold Splatoon. DRF, what is our key matchup for Division 5?
It is a team that they know I'm a big fan of them. A-State Black will be taking on Money Mindset. That is our key matchup. A win for either of these teams will put them into prime position for the playoff spot. I believe if A-State Black gets it, I think they are confirmed in, but again, math. So Money Mindset does have 2 matches left. This is just one of them, as you had mentioned, the other match against Chaotic earlier there. So they need to win this match and the match against Chaotic to make the playoffs. So they still have a lot on their plate, but they've been looking good so far this season. So things are still in the works for them, but Money Mindset in a great spot. A-State Black has had a phenomenal season as well. A major bounce back from last season. So I'm really looking forward to see how this group finishes.
For sure, and how Division 5 Ultimate is going to be shaping up is going to be interesting for teams, especially teams that are getting their first taste at it here in Division 5. So that'll be a fun one to look forward to. DRF, but yeah, that is the Division 5. Getting ahead of myself again. DRF that covers Division 5. What is the playoff picture looking at like for Division 4?
Certainly. So Division 4 are locked in teams as far as we could tell right now. Group 1, Kraken Cove has a bounce back season themselves here, locking in the number 1 spot in their group. Phenomenal job by them. Group 2 is the WPI Grisco Union Busters, who have been seemingly unstoppable all season long and are entering the playoffs as one of the absolute favorites to take it all. Group 3, the Grizzco Gators and GMU Academy are both in, but still fighting for positioning here in those top 2 spots. And Group 4, we do have the Farmingdale Esports team securing the number 1 spot and UGA Red securing the number 2 spot. That group is all set in stone. But taking a look at some of the upcoming matches this week, we do have UNCG Bonefish Bay taking on UT Austin's Equinox. Both teams looking to get their first win of the season to finish strong here. GMU Academy versus Grizzco Gators, a battle for playoff seeding in Group 3. As we had mentioned, they're both in. Now they're just fighting to see who is the number 1 seed. And then, of course, the High Rollers versus C Sharp Major that we mentioned earlier on in the podcast. This is a big one. The High Rollers need to win to get that last playoff spot in Group 2. C Sharp Major, I believe, has a slightly more complex path, but I think still have a way in. So that's going to be some of those key matchups there. But Kyon, what's the match of the week here?
Yeah, Division 4's match of the week, the match you want to look out for, RIT Tiger Prawn versus Arc Halley, and this is gonna be interesting here. They got 2 crucial matches coming up, with one being Arc Halley and the other one being the Locked In and Kraken Cove from their group respectively. If they win both of them, they take the top seed in their group, so they got that to look forward to. But if they lose both their matches, they are out and they don't get a playoff spot. So that's gonna be, so again, you don't want to be in the losing side if you are Tiger Prawn, and whoever wins this match will take the last playoff spot in Group 1. So something to keep an eye out on. By the way, good luck to both of the teams here in Division 4. That does wrap up Division 4. Moving on to Division 3 here, real quickly here. We got the playoff teams there. Egg Spaghetti locked in at Group 1 as the number 1 spot for their respective groups. Gumi still seeding not there, but they are locked in. And Utopian Title Kraken for sure the number 1 spot in Group 4. Something matches you want to preview here in Division 3 is EA UCD Splatoon White versus the KSU Wild Sharks. Wild Sharks needing to win in order to guarantee their spot into Division 3 playoffs. And UNM Esports versus the High Riders, and UNM specifically will get their spot in playoffs if they were to win this matchup. So a lot on line for them. And Girly Spot versus Bash for Division 3. If Girly Spot winning this one, it will take them one step closer to that fabled playoff spot in Division 3. DRF, by the way, what is the key matchup here in Division 3?
Well, speaking of Girly Pops, let's talk about them once more as they take on Long Beach Black. So this Group 2 has been really interesting in Division 3 to watch, because every single team has a loss so far this season. So when that happens, you have a banger of a group put together. Like, these are the wins that I view in my eyes as a seeder. I'm like, hey, we did pretty good. Was just because it's absolute chaos and it's anybody's game to the very end, and that's really what we have here. So the Girly Pops do have the most matches left to be played, so they do in a way have the most control of their own destiny. So pros and cons there, obviously, because you do have to fit 2 matches into, well, it's Thursday now, so you have today, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You have 4 days to get those 2 matches in. So not optimal, but hey, destiny's in your hands. So they need this win over Long Beach to get a playoff spot, as they already do have victories over WVU's Bobblehat Gang and the San Bernardino Coyotes Black team. But if they lose against Long Beach Black, and win against Bash, then this just creates a whole mess, and that's where we start to bring out the doomsday scenario, as we like to call it in the staff circles. So we've been waiting for a doomsday to happen. I don't know if this is the season that it does happen, but there's certainly some possibility here.
You know, I don't know if you guys necessarily want a scenario like that. Maybe you guys are just really silly in the background, or you guys are just wanting for chaos to happen. But I think just seeing as you mentioned, the aforementioned doomsday scenario is that's gonna be intriguing to keep an eye out on. And for me, especially watching this one, this is gonna be a lot of fun there. But that is the wrap for Division 3. Quick jump into Division 2. Your teams set for playoffs, as we alluded to earlier with the interview from Titans of Alterna. Splatlanders and SplatScad Black team are in, seeding yet to be determined. Unbelievably, Group 3 has no one locked in yet. Still wide open at this point. And then of course, Group 4, your seeding's already set from that one. It will be Seminole Cephalopods Garnet and the Titans of Alterna Orange, specifically in that order. So 1 and 2 respectively there. Matches you want to look out for coming into Division 2, Aeronautics versus California Rollers. That was one of the California Rollers matchups that we highlighted earlier. UCSD Esports Navy versus Foreign Acrylion, with I believe MSU here needing to win to force the legendary Circle of Suck in the playoffs there. And Cream Corn, 2 matches you want to look out for. Husky Splatsville Knights Violet. Basically, nothing to apply here for the Huskies, but if Cream Corn will need to win this one, so the Husky Splatsville Knights Violet are basically effectively playing spoilers, if truth be told. And then Cream Corn against ONSU Scarlet. This is the other win that Cream Corn needs to have. Hopefully, we are hoping to see a close match here with both teams taking UCSD Navy to a game 7. Two matches are very important here in Division 2. DRF, you got one of them. What is one of the 2 for, key matches for Division 2?
So the first one here is the Splatlanders versus California Rollers, as we had mentioned. So it's going to be a tough one for both of these teams, as California Rollers have to win this to give themselves a shot at the playoffs against a team that's already secured in. So it's been a bit of a bumpy road for the California Rollers, but they still have a chance here. So they're going to have to come out strong. So they will need to win both of their matches, the one against Splatlanders and the one against Aeronautics to get in. But hey, it's possible. I mean, this was one of the top seeds in Division 2 for a reason. So it's an uphill battle, but one that I'm excited to see this team take on. The Splatlanders, while they are confirmed in the playoffs, they still don't know their seed quite yet. I think we might have incorrectly said earlier that they were the 1 seed. There is a scenario that they could drop to the 2 seed. But it's looking good for them so far. So winning this set means that they secure number 1 in their group. So it will be interesting for sure. And if they do end up actually falling to that number 2 seed, they get the Division 4 Grand Finals rematch against Seminole Cephalopods Garnet. So part of me kind of wants to see that happen, but I know Splatlanders, if they have anything to say about it, they will say, we'll see you in Grand Finals again this season. We'd prefer it that way. So hey, it's an interesting storyline to keep an eye out for. But we did reach out to both teams for a match comment. The Splatlanders did return to us with a quick video that was comedically composed at like 2 a.m. So I think really the only way to fully explain the mindset of the Splatlanders coming into this is to just watch their video. So let's see what the Splatlanders put together for us.
Hello all, I'm Cyan from the Splatlanders, and honestly we're really confident that we have this. So much so that when I asked the team for just more comments and things to say, I got a bunch of jokes back. So I'll be reading those all out for you now. Starting off, we have this match will be GG easy because East Coast is better than West Coast. We're definitely going to steamroll them. Splatlanders stocks all-time high, no indications of dipping. Good luck, I guess. And lastly, I expect us to rematch Garnet in finals, implying that if we win this, we won't rematch them in quarterfinals. And yeah, that's all. Obviously not really a lot to add. We've got this. Honestly, we have this. At least I sure hope so. This might age really poorly. Alright, take care.
Okay, well, thank you, Cyan, and the Splatlanders team for for that lovely 2 a.m. video and some nice fun. I commend the confidence though. This is a team that knows exactly what they want heading into this matchup. So good luck to both teams though. I really do love both of these teams. So I can't really root for one or the other personally. I'm just excited to see them play.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely wanted to see how both these teams go at it, and if you're composing videos to him, at least be very silly about it. And I'm glad they honestly delivered that. I'm sure that'll be me a lot when it comes to 2 a.m. stuff. But either way, though, yeah, good luck to both teams. The second matchup, by the way, DRF for Division 2, that will be very important. Stevens Executioner, hopefully I pronounced that one right, versus Springfield, Ohio. Stevens Executioner is a team that has gone under the radar for most of Season 5, but they moved up after getting to Division 3 playoffs. They played their first game in Week 3, the old catch up, effectively, for them, and with the other big dogs in their group. But that being said, they now find themselves having to play against Splat Scab Black and Springfield, Ohio this week in order to continue on. Springfield, Ohio is the only one they need to win. With them getting the second spot due to the tiebreaker. So even if they were to lose to Splatskad, this is the matchup they need to pay attention to the most. Springfield, Ohio does have a path forward, but they're going to need some help from another match in order to go their way before we can safely say they have confirmed a spot in playoffs. So that should lock up the Division 2 matchups that we're going to pay attention to. Well, I'm still trying to process the puns and the silliness here, DRF. Tell us more about Division 1 and what that picture is looking like.
Absolutely. So, as we had said previously, we spent a lot of time on Division 1 already, but Red Embers, PSU, UCSD, OU Academy A are all locked into the playoffs. OU Academy A can still slip into wildcard, but they have that guaranteed at least if they do end up falling. But there's 8 matches to go. 6 of them have a direct effect on the playoff race. Long Beach Gold versus Comet Blasters. Long Beach Gold looking for that wild card or even possibly a second place finish. Night Sharks versus Skyfall, and then Night Sharks versus Reef Runners. The Night Sharks looking to bounce back this season and make the playoffs after missing out last season. And they are favored going into both of these sets, but of course, Reef Runners can play spoiler and Skyfall has a lot on the line. So they're going to be coming out swinging for this set. And Banana Split versus UCSD Esports Gold, playoff positionings, and possibly a playoff spot for Banana Split, hanging the balance on this one. And lastly, PSU Blue versus VCU Big Fat Sea Cows is another playoff positioning battle. But Kyon, hit us up with that match of the week. We had already hinted at it, but let's talk about it once more.
You know how we hinted before how one of the groups is gonna have to play favorites here. It's gonna be VCU Big Fat Sea Cows versus GMU Patriots, and we've highlighted this one because the importance of the wild card spot is going to come into play along with the second spot in that group there. As mentioned before, playoff positions as neither team is secure, but they are so close to clinching a playoff spot. This is important for them. Of course, it's a rematch from the UNC G-Land, in which GMU did put up a strong fight to push VCU to a Game 5 in Grand Finals. So this is a highly anticipated rematch for both of these teams. Look forward to this. Look forward to how the results of this one plays out. That's Division 1's going to be pretty tight, I imagine here, DRF. So, but hey, can't have it any other way here, right?
Absolutely. Well, as we start to wrap this one up, Kyon, I have one question here for you, and that is, which group do you think will have the most nail-biting finish? Because we have a couple of groups here that have been really, really interesting to talk about today. But it's going to be Chaos. And who is the group of Chaos for you?
I mean, you mentioned the Doomsday scenario from Division 3 Group 2. This is the group that I'm sure it will be the biggest nail-biting finish. I know there, and I'm looking more at it on paper there, because you mentioned before the parity with that group is one loss, everything just kind of blows itself wide open for teams to have an opportunity to jump on that one. So I'm looking to see how that Division 3 Group 2 plays out. That is going to be my pick, and I would hope, of course, much to the staff's chagrin, that we do get the very silly scenario to play out there. I want to ask you the same question though, DRF. What about you? What group do you think will have the nail-biting finish?
in a similar vein here, it has to be Division 2, Group 3. I'm going to switch the numbers on you here. So, in Division 2, Group 3, similar situation. Everybody has a loss. There are 5 teams that are still fighting for those 2 playoff spots. Nobody's secure, and only 1 team has been eliminated. So that's wild to be in that kind of situation. There are still, I believe, 5 matches in this group that need to be played. Cream Corn and Ohio State have, and Foreign Acrylion, each in 2 of those matches. So this group is, part of the chaos here is just that these groups are, this group is behind. But they've already proven that they can all beat each other. So, I believe there is actually one big circle of suck that already exists between them. So, it is wild. I am so excited to see how this group ends. It should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm really excited to see how the finishers for this one plays out here. I mean, DRF. I know I personally, of course, being a part of the CCA for quite some time, I always like to see a circle of suck, again, much to the chagrin of every team and probably every staff having to calculate all that all together. But hey, I think just having that sort of chaos is awesome. Much to, again, all of everybody's chagrin. I'm sure they want to avoid it as much as possible. Their DRF, but man, yeah, with the groups having nail biting finish, we gotta see what's coming up next here, DRF, because of course, actually, believe it or not, the streams I believe have just been finalized here. Shout out to production staff. What are the expect to see?
Odyssey, tune in tomorrow. Tune in tomorrow because it is a Div 1 doubleheader. We have our Div 1 match of the week kicking our stream schedule off this weekend. GMU Patriots versus the VCU Big Fat Sea Cows. So much on the line for this one. It's going to be a ton of fun. And following that, we do have UCSD Sports Gold versus EAUCD Banana Split. Another Div 1 matchup with a lot of playoff implications there as UCSD looks to complete their perfect regular season. Then Saturday, we do have the Div 2 matchup of the week, Splatlanders versus California Rollers. So I think I had earlier said I wasn't sure if that one was confirmed. Well, it is confirmed. So that's going to be a lot of fun. A lot on the line there. And then we, Sunday, dip on over to Div 6 to the ONSU Gray versus the NCCS Llamas. Another great matchup, followed by the Husky Splatsville Knights Violet versus Cream Corn. So every single one of these matchups we have on stream has some sort of effect on the playoff picture. It's going to be a ton of fun. So it's, this week, the stream matches, it's not about quantity, it is about quality.
That's gonna be, and I wish I could tune in, but unfortunately, your schedule is gonna tell me otherwise for the most part this weekend. But Friday and Saturday, I mean, you mentioned before, all the playoff implications kind of on the line for Division 1 and Division 2, Splatlanders versus California Rollers. Those, I have my eyes set on that. Unfortunately, I'm gonna have to catch it all afterwards. Again, because my weekend's kind of being very silly here. So, I mean, we cannot emphasize how important the matches are for every team that are involved. So, please do tune into it. Help support this broadcast because you don't want to miss a thing with that.
Yeah. So let's keep it going though. Podcast episode 17 is tentatively scheduled for next Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Elixir and Snow are planning to host the regular season send-off here and give you all the insights into the playoff brackets once those are finalized. So look out for an official announcement regarding that on Tuesday. But that's not the only podcast announcement we have for you all. Podcast episode 18, we are hosting the season 5 game show interlude episode. That is going to be a ton of fun. So we are looking for contestants to play in a Jeopardy style game show for about the CCA, season 5 trivia, CCA history. So stats, it can be anything about the community. So we are actively working on making this a very fun episode. So if you are interested in competing, you can go ahead and sign up or apply, I should say, as a contestant, we will be selecting, I believe, 3 contestants to partake in our shenanigans. So if that interests you, the application can be found in the chat right now. And we will be posting it to announcements after the episode. You have exactly 1 week to apply, so get those in. Oh man. Oh, Kyon, that was quite the episode. But thank you so much for joining us as our first guest host. It has been a ton of fun doing this with you.
Of course, I would love to come back down the road because you guys got something cool here. It's always my kind of style as well. And I'm as a person who has been part of the CCA, actually probably even during the very old age. Let's put it that way. DRF, it's always good to see this group grow and the interest in the collegiate Splatoon always rising. So yeah, I'm glad to be a part of it.
Absolutely. Well, go ahead and plug yourself real quick, Kyon. Where can the people of our chat find you?
You guys will probably hear my normal plugs as you probably heard every time. Of course, it's Twitter, Twitch, Blue Sky, Kyon2570. Twitter and Blue Sky for the nonsense, whatever I feel like posting that day, and then Twitch for the variety. Always hit this follow button if you want to watch my stuff. I mentioned before, been part. I always help commentate the CCA games if I ever get the chance to. Mentioned before, this weekend just pure busy, so you won't be seeing me at all. But yeah, and also from earlier, just been a part of the CCA probably almost what feels like since the inception of the league. So this has been so much fun to see CCA grow, and then of course seeing all the players improve. I'll kick it back to you, DRF, if you want to do the plugs for yourself.
Sure. So I'll plug the Proton Splat League as well. That is another ongoing league. So definitely tune in over there because they're what season are you guys on now? Like season 9?
This is season 9. So I wasn't expecting that. So I'll go and interlude with this one. Yeah, we are on season 9 of the Proton Splat League. It's actually where I actually got my biggest start with the commentary, and then my interest with Splatoon ballooned up, and then I became a TO, and then my hair just started going gray. Let's put it that way. No, it is a fun league. It's a purely casual environment. You get to meet a lot of people who just has the same interest there too. So yeah, 9 seasons and counting. We're still rolling strong here, DRF.
Oh man, well thank you for plugging that. The Proton Splat League is a great friend of the CCA's, so we always like to support you guys as well as you support us. But let me go ahead and plug myself real quick. You can go and find me on Twitter at DRF_Splatoon and on Twitch at TritonDRF. But per usual, you can find me right here on the CCA channel covering all things collegiate Splatoon. Thank you all so much for watching episode 16 of the podcast. Thank you, and we will see you this weekend for some amazing playoff clinching matchups.